Hi, everyone. I want to take a quick moment to apologize. Today's recording, for whatever reason, didn't actually record. So I apologize for that, but we're going to work out some kinks. This is kind of an interesting way that we're teaching the class. We've got in-person students, we have online students. So we're just going to try to figure out as much as we can as we go. I like to make the joke that we're going to build the plane as we crash it. Um, that said, welcome to the class. My name is Professor Cameron Renneker. We have a very unique opportunity in this class in particular that we have two professors teaching this class. I am joined by Professor Cynthia Storm, who is a wonderful, wonderful professor. Believe it or not, she was actually one of my professors when I was doing my grad studies here at ASU. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I appreciate all of you guys being here. That said, let me jump into a couple of things that we covered in class today. I'm going to share my screen here. Um, so first things first, you all are in GIT 540. It's a cross-media design class, and that means a lot of things. We're going to cover quite a bit in the class. I'll walk you guys through some of the modules here, and then we'll if you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. Many of you guys have already gotten started. I've seen that several of you have already taken your syllabus quiz. A lot of you guys have read the syllabus. There's a little piece of the syllabus in there that I can see if you guys actually read the syllabus or not. So just take some time and read the syllabus. So first things first, my name is Professor Cameron Renneker. I already mentioned that. There's a couple of really important pieces of information on here. The first one being my email. You will probably never need this. I like to say that if you send me an email, you can expect a response in 7 to 10 business weeks. I'm only joking a little. Try to save any emails for really important things. If you need certain accommodations for class, like a sales request or something like that. If you're in the hospital, grandma's in the hospital, things like that, save that, put that in an email. Um, Other than that, I would say just take Slack me. My Slack handle is the one all the way at the very bottom there. You can catch me there anytime. Most of you already have. I'm very, very, very responsive in Slack, so that is the best place to catch me. I do apologize. My office number actually isn't 330K anymore. It's actually 350D. We moved over the summer, so I apologize about that. But we are still in Santa Catalina. You can catch us on the third floor. We're all the way in the back. For those of you taking this online, that probably won't matter to you. But for the folks that are taking the class in person, that might be pretty helpful. The other thing that's really important here, coming from the bottom up, is my Calendly link. This is linked in several places. I will show those to you. But if you want to schedule office hours with me, that's the best place to do that. So just feel free to book them anytime. I like to say that I have one job here, and that is to answer your questions. So please take some time, schedule office hours if you feel that you need them. Last count I did, we have, I think, over 90 students in the class. So I may not be able to meet one-on-one with every single one of you guys, but I do hope that we get to communicate via Slack, and I really hope that you guys enjoy the class. I rebuilt the class from the ground up over the summer. So as I said, we're going to build the plane as we crash it a little bit, but I appreciate your guys' patience. I plan to be as ready as we can possibly be. I plan to do very little lecturing in this class. It's mostly going to be work that you guys are going to do and a lot of demonstrations. As you can tell, Module 1, I'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but there is one really hefty lecture in there. It's about a 5-hour lecture. I promise that all of my other lectures will not be that long. I had to do that just because of the nature of this being an in-person and an online class. Future semesters are going to have that broken out, so I apologize. You guys won't get that experience. I kind of had to do that one a little bit quickly, but it is all inclusive. Take your time to watch it. You can kind of there won't be any quizzes or anything on it, so you can sort of take it in via reverse osmosis and just like turn it on while you're sleeping or something. But do watch it. There's going to be a paper assignment that requires you to know a little bit about the history of design in order to kind of know what I'm looking for there. A couple of other important things that you might want to know. My LinkedIn, I post things there pretty frequently. I post things about UX design. I post things about graphic design. I post things about the industry, including jobs that I'm seeing all over the nation. So really great resource for you there. And if you just want to see some of my work, my personal portfolio is renekerstudio.com. So feel free to check those out if you'd like. Moving on. I'm actually a graduate from GIT. I got my master's in 2024. I got all kinds of awards for that, which is exciting. And when you get lots of awards, they want to put you on billboards. So that was cool. Got a nice little letter from President Crow. I've been doing this for quite some time. I started by doing a lot of landscape photography, actually, and that sort of evolved into me becoming a graphic designer. I went to the Art Institute of California, Orange County for my undergrad, and that was super fun. Got to meet some really awesome titans of design out there. The two on the left and the right there, his name is Stefan Bucher. He's a really great graphic designer, very well-rounded graphic designer, I should say. The guy in the middle, his name is Craig Ward. He's out of New York. He's a typographer who also does some really cool work. Check them out. You'll also see some of their work in the History of Design lecture if you're pretty keen-eyed. Got my undergrad degree from the Art Institute, as I mentioned. And then I went and started working at Lazy Boy Furniture Galleries as an interior designer. There's a quote, I believe it's from Massimo Vignelli, who says that if you can design one thing, you can design anything. So I got to learn how to be an interior designer there for a little bit. I worked with a wonderful person. Her name is Nicole Kontrova. She's from Bulgaria. She was a really, really great mentor for me. So find yourself a mentor. Got to work on lots of interior design projects, mostly commercial, or I'm sorry, not commercial, mostly residential rather than commercial projects. So it's always nice to work on some things like that. I got really good at interior design. Lazy Boy actually did a couple commercials with me in it. As you can see, they like to capture my good side. Even the sort of pessimistic ones, they still like to get those. From there, I got recruited to go and work for Yamaha Motors. This is actually sort of a slightly failed project. It was a three-wheeled motorcycle. One might choose to call it a tricycle. However, the two wheels are in the front instead of the back. So this lasted for like a year, maybe. Before they pulled it and realized this is not what consumers want. But it was fun to work on something a little bit innovative. And then I also got to work on packaging projects. Don't judge the name. I don't come up with the names. That's the marketing department. I just make it look good. So there's that for you. From there, the work that I did at Yamaha, as well as my capstone project that I did in my undergrad, which was for Patagonia, it was a spec project for Patagonia. You can see that in my portfolio. It's all the way at the end, but you can see it. Between my Yamaha work and that, I got recruited to go work at PetSmart. They were working on this new brand called Arcadia Trail at the time, and they needed someone who knew a little bit of the outdoors and had a lot of experience with packaging. So they called me and I got to build that brand from the ground up. I also worked on brands like Authority, Top Fin, All Living Things, Simply Nourish, Top Paw. There's Thrive, several brands at PetSmart. If you walk into a PetSmart, I've pretty much touched every corner of that store, with the exception of cat. That was the only part of the business that I didn't really work on. But dog, small animal, reptiles, guinea pigs, birds, all of that, I got to design stuff for those. So that was fun. COVID hit though, and they were a little less focused on trying to bring in new product, and they were trying to figure out how to keep the products that they had on the shelves. So I got laid off. I went and started working for a really, really small vitamin and supplement company out in Scottsdale. And they had these like really crappy bottles that every single bottle looked really different. None of them looked the same. Nothing was cohesive. So they hired me as a lifestyle and product photographer, mostly for social media and website content. And they wanted me to tell some somewhat consistent visual story narratives. And I just couldn't do it with the packaging that they had. But I made it work. And in my free time, I would redesign their packaging. And one day the CEO walked by my desk and like, what's that? And I was like, oh, that's your new packaging. I totally thought I was going to get fired because I wasn't exactly working on what I was hired for, but I actually got promoted. They promoted me to art director. I got to hire a team. We redesigned the packaging and we went from something like this to this. So a little bit better, a little bit more engaging, I should say. And then from there, I ended up going and working for Drive Time. So if you hear all the awful Hulu ads that are like, buy a car 100% online, use this fancy slider, that was me. And then ultimately, the work that I did at Drive Time went to Carvana because they're sister companies of each other. And I get to say that they called me. They actually needed someone specifically to figure out how to sell a car online. And we did it. It was not easy, but I get to say that I invented selling a car online. So that was nice. From there, I ended up going and working for a really small boot camp up in New York. I started teaching there. I had taught a little bit before that for a private university out here in Arizona. But this was where I really started falling in love with teaching. And I fell in love with it so much that I was like, you know what? I should go back and get my master's. That way I can actually do this with the right credentials. So that kind of brings us full circle there. There's my website, not really important. So let's go over a little bit of the syllabus. That's a little bit about me. Also tell you a little bit about Professor Storm, but there's also a whole section in here about her. She's up in Colorado, up in Boulder. She's a really, really awesome professor. I think that between the two of us, we've got about 32 years of experience combined. I've got about 12 years. I think she's about 20, maybe a couple more. So you got some real good knowledge in the classroom here. This is your landing page in Canvas. It should look pretty familiar from here. I'm the course developer. I built the course. We're going to continue building the course as we go through the class, but if you're taking the class in person, there's a couple of important things like our dates and times that we're going to be meeting, as well as where we're going to be meeting. If you're taking this class online, you don't need to attend class necessarily at all. I have set up a Zoom session that when it works and it records properly, you are welcome to join that Zoom session if you would like to listen in. However, totally optional. You do not have to do that. It's just if you want to hear the information early so that you can get started a little bit earlier, that is absolutely fine. From there, I will be taking these lecture recordings and I will upload them after every class session to Canvas. So you can expect to see that populated about 11:59 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So just keep an eye out for those. That way you can watch those lectures and get the work done. Okay. I cannot stress this enough. Most of you guys are already doing this, so I really don't probably need to say this, but Slack is not optional. Get yourselves in Slack. Download it on every device you use for school. Your computer, your phone, your tablet, I don't care. Download it. Turn on notifications. This is super, super important. If you miss Slack, you will miss the class. Period. End of statement. Do not forget to download Slack. I know that a lot of classes say they use Slack and then they never really do. We use it here, I promise. And there's actually an opportunity for some of the online folks to be working with some of the in-person folks. So just please, please, please download Slack. It is part of your participation. From there, I already mentioned office hours. You can click here and you can access my Calendly. It's all there for you. If you're in Arizona, you can click in here and there's a very limited selection of in-person office hours that you're welcome to take advantage of. Um, Understandably, that's not an option for all of you. So if you have questions, if you want to meet, like I said, I have one job here, that is to answer your questions. So there's a lot more availability, as you can see here, through Zoom. So happy to meet with you guys whenever you need. From there, time allocations and deadlines. This is an interesting section. I would say that this one's not super helpful, but there's one in the syllabus that is a little bit more helpful. This is just a general breakdown of about how many hours it's going to take for you to do the coursework in this class. And it averages out to about 135 hours. Some of you it might be a little more, some of you maybe a little bit less, but that's kind of a sweet spot for any class at ASU. This is one of my favorite sections. I try to, every semester, take some of the common concerns that you all have as students and just write responses to them. It probably doesn't capture all of the sentiment, but if you're ever like frustrated and just like, I'm not sure why this is this way. If you don't know why we use pass-fail grades in this class, this is a great starting point for that. So just if you want to take a little bit of time, or if you're maybe you don't need to read every question and answer, but if you're concerned about any one particular thing or why a certain thing is a certain way, check here. It's a good spot to just orient yourself. The syllabus is right here. I may have already mentioned this, but there is a little quirk in here. There's a little phrase that tells me whether or not you read the syllabus. So please take the time to read the syllabus. It is for your benefit. I promise that. Scroll through it. Some of it may just be boilerplate, but just to give you a couple of high-level things to consider, make sure that you've got all of your tools downloaded. We have one section in the class where we're going to make sure that you have everything downloaded, but you can get started with this now. You do not need to download Adobe Flash or anything like that, but do make sure that you are at least in Adobe CC, make sure that you're in Figma, Zoom, Slack, all of those good things. I also have 2 requirements for tools that I want you guys to have, and that is a plain page or dotted sketchbook. I want to make sure that you guys have that. So by plain page, I just mean white paper, something that keeps all of that together. Or at least in my opinion, a little bit better would be a dotted sketchbook. I've linked to a dotted sketchbook here. So if you want to order that, what I mean by dotted is it's got these little grid dots on there. Sometimes it's called engineering paper or graph paper. That's just really helpful for sketching and keeping everything nice and aligned without having to use rulers and things. Part of design work is working fast. So I want to get you guys comfortable with that now. And then I want you guys to order a set of drafting pencils as well. It doesn't have to be this set, but this is a nice set of drafting pencils that aren't overly expensive. It's $12, comes through Amazon. You can also take a look at some local art stores, but those tend to be exponentially more expensive. So just a couple of things there. If you want to know a little bit more about like the course topics that we're going to cover, those are there. I'll go over that a little bit in a second. You can access all of your softwares that you're going to need in this class for free. So make sure that you check this section out because there's some important segments on like Creative Cloud. You have to access that through a specific area that ASU has set up for you. Figma, you have to make sure that you set up an education account, not a free account. All that good stuff. We probably won't need Microsoft 365, but just in case, that's in there so that you know that you can get that for free. And then Notion. Notion's just a nice one for project management. It's nice for just taking notes. So a nice one to have. You don't need Adobe Flash. Don't feel like you need to download that, but you probably need to be able to use it just because some programs still use it. So you don't need to download it though. All right. Attendance and participation. This one's a little bit dicey. If you're an in-person student, you get 3 strikes before you fail, is the way that I see it. Each strike sequentially builds into lesser and lesser grade. But that said, there is a difference between excused and unexcused absences. I am a pretty understanding guy for you in-person folks. I understand you guys have a lot going on. As long as you're not waking up after class it's already started, shoot me a message before class starts. Ideally, give me a little bit of advance notice. The day before is fine. The day of is even fine, but less ideal. You're all adults here. The main thing that I want to make sure of is that you are attending class because we're going over my lectures are not your typical, let me explain some philosophy to you. We are actually doing demonstrations in the class. I'm showing you how to use the tools that we are going to use. I'm showing you how to do the things that we are going to do. It's not, let me tell you how to do it, and then you go figure it out. I am actually going to do it with you. For those of you online, your attendance is a little bit different. I just want to see that you guys are engaging in Slack, keeping up with conversation, things like that. The AI class policy, this is a little bit different. Use AI. I want you guys to use AI. There are some specific areas where I don't want you to use AI, and I'm pretty explicit about calling that out. But I'm okay with it. Knock yourself out. Textbooks, there's no textbooks for the class, so you're pretty good there. There's a couple of different types of assignments, so read through those, but this is the section that I was saying is going to be really helpful. These are estimates at this time, but we're going to refine this over time. This is about how many hours you're going to probably end up spending on each individual module. So just get somewhat comfortable with this. This is, again, just an estimate. Take this with a grain of salt. Here's your grading methodology. This one's really important. And this catches students off sometimes, is that this class isn't, you don't get credit for effort, you get credit for completion. So we use a pass or fail model for labs, which are small iterative works. They probably take you an hour, maybe 2, 3 hours at the worst. But projects, those actually get graded using your traditional grading scale. So just keep that in mind. It mirrors industry practice. I know it's a little bit of a different grading style, but I want you guys to make sure that you aren't just, I expect everyone to put effort in, but getting something done is a totally different thing than putting effort into it. So I want you guys to be clear about that. All assignments are due at 11:59 Arizona time. Make sure that you know that. We will have a little bit of a weird thing. Arizona doesn't follow daylight savings time, so just make sure that you know that. There are no late work accepted, and there are no resubmissions accepted. This class moves on without you, with or without you, I should say. The reason for that is we have so much that we need to fit in here. I don't want you guys getting too focused on getting it perfect. I want you guys to focus on getting it done, and then we'll work on perfection later. Okay. The idea behind this class is to get you exposed to a lot of different tools very, very quickly. I expect you all to work together, be cordial. But here's some tips for that. Most of this is boilerplate that's going to be the same for all of your classes. So that's the syllabus. I still want you all to go and read that. Outside of that, let's take a look at some of the modules, give you guys a brief overview of how we're going to approach this class. Here's your syllabus quiz. That is due tonight. Please take that syllabus quiz. It is hugely, hugely important. Most of you guys have already started with that, so good job. From there, we go into an introduction of design. This lecture here is that 5-hour lecture I was telling you about. Do not wait to get started on this. It is huge. I want you guys to pay close attention to it, but there won't be any quizzes. I know I have quiz down here. You guys won't be able to see that. I won't surprise you guys with the pop quiz. That's something that I'm developing for a future semester. So you guys are lucky. You're welcome. So history of design, start there. Then you have to create a design errors poster. This says multiple due dates because if you're online, you have a slightly different due date than you do in person. Just, it's a slightly different time. You can see it all still says August 25th there. So please make sure that you get that done. Make sure to read all the instructions in there. If you have questions, reach out on Slack. Then we're going to go over some design elements, some design principles, and then this is where you're going to install all of your softwares. I want to talk really briefly about Module 1. The Module 1 project is a little bit of a doozy. I'm running 2 classes right now, and my other class that I teach is actually designing you guys a website where all of these papers that you write hopefully will be published. I reserve the right to unpublish anyone's article. The reason that I might unpublish anyone's article is suspected academic integrity issues. If I think that you wrote it with ChatGPT and didn't edit it, if I think any information might be potentially infactual, or potentially a little bit biased, anything like that, I may redact your paper. However, my goal is to get every single one of you guys published. I run the publication, so that's the idea there. After Module 1, we're going to go into Illustrator. This is where the lectures are going to change quite a bit. These are some of like your philosophical lectures up here. These lectures are demonstrations. So I'm literally going to walk you through how to illustrate the Apple logo. I am literally going to show you and walk you through how to do SpongeBob SquarePants as an illustration. And then I'm going to show you how to do an infographic poster. This one is going to get a little bit philosophical. I'm not going to show you how to do a photorealistic illustration, but that's because there's another video that's going to show you how to do that, and that's someone else. Then you guys have to make a typographic portrait. There's instructions for all of that in there. All of this builds into you guys making this typographic portrait. So it's all cumulative. The skills and the resources that you learn in these exercises are going to sort of stack up into this typographic portrait here. Then we go into a little bit of photography, Lightroom, and Photoshop. Here, I want you guys to take a little bit of photography. Here, we're going to do a little bit of Lightroom editing. Then we're going to do a little bit of retouching and image manipulation, all for you to sort of prepare yourself to create a surrealist ad. So we'll work with that. Then we go into typography, layout, and InDesign. You might also look at this as grids too. So here you build some type scales. We talk about typography and hierarchy and anatomy and all that good stuff. Then we talk about hierarchy, where you guys are going to design a logo. The name for this one's probably going to change once we have the name for my other classes coming up with the name for it. They're doing a bunch of research on that. So TBD, to be determined on that. Then we go over some expressive and experimental typography, particularly the work of Herb Lubalin, so that you can work on this. We'll talk about layout and grids, and then you guys are going to make a magazine article, probably on the artist or designer that you select up here for your article. And then Module 5, this one's probably the one that most of you guys are interested in, which is learning a little bit about Figma. I have to save it to the end just to keep you all interested. But I'm probably going to change this a little bit, but my hope is that you guys will ultimately end up designing your portfolios. So we probably won't do a type persona specimen app, but you guys will probably end up getting some of the groundwork for your portfolios laid. After that, you guys actually do a passion project. You tell me what you're going to do, but there's a very specific structure in place for how to do that. So realistically, that's the course. It's going to be a busy semester. I know that. I know you guys probably have other things going on as well, but I really want to welcome you guys to the class. I cannot stress this enough. If you have a question, please ask it. Like I said, we're all going to work through some of the kinks here together. But if you guys need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am more than happy to help you all. And I'm sure I can speak for Professor Storm in the same regard. Professor Storm's great. And then we'll also be joined by a grader later on in the class. So you may receive feedback from any three of us. All right, I think I've covered everything. If you haven't already, get yourself into Slack, check into Canvas, make sure you get your syllabus quiz done, and don't forget to get started on the really long, and again, I apologize, not every lecture is going to be that way, but get started on the really long history of design lecture so that you can start working on your poster. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again on Tuesday next week.